engineering will help somewhat, and then everything else, you know, we'll just do our best and see what happens. But
yeah, exactly.
It's gone from a drain in a cement pipe to now there's like little ponds and everything. And we were just there this afternoon commenting on how much more life there is just with getting the water out of that cement culvert and into like, because there's frogs in there now and the birds are all over the place, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to see it kind of starting to come back. But
yeah,
and maybe we just weren't there watching it before, but I'm pretty sure there weren't any toads there before, or at least not as many as there are now. But
right.
Anyway.
Huh. Which is actually interesting. I'm going to dive in now because, hi, Bobby.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, I forgot to see who else was here. I'm sorry. I thought it was just us. Or I would have cut off a long time ago.
And there's Amanda. No, I was letting you go. But
good.
Hello, Amanda. But talking about your creek, what you said that I thought, ooh, that's really cool, is, you know, it took them a few disasters to figure out that they had to work with the creek a little bit, or it was going to just blow their storm drains, and it was going to it was going to do what nature's going to do.
Yep.
Because my whole thing with weeds, and even as you're talking about your invasive plants,
you should have come. You could like feast.
Yeah, but you know, they're all there for a purpose, and there was a problem. So they figured out that they couldn't just contain nature and force it to do what they wanted it to do. They had to at least give it a nod to working with it. So they opened up this area. Well, then it was probably pretty raw. So all of those plants came in because they're kind of like the tag alders and poplars of.
I call them opportunistic.
They are, they're opportunistic, and they're also the first responders. So they were the first ones to go in. They're so hardy that they can root in anything and start to bring up nutrition, prepare the soil, make it so that the other things can start to come in as the soil becomes inhospitable for them when it gets too rich. That's kind of, and sometimes you help it along a little bit, and that's what you guys are doing. But that's why you see, they're complaining about these invasive weeds in all these farmers' fields. And it used to be you would see them at the edge of the field where it's marginal, and it's a meeting of what the farmer's been doing and, you know, the forest or the meadow, whatever. Sure. That's where you might see the thistle and all of these things because they're responding to a need. But I've seen on our land where once the land gets treated the way it wants to be, hi Ella, and it's not overgrazed and it's properly nourished, the soil is, the thistle has actually gone away. And the burdock, I went to go get burdock root last year and it was not there because it had served its purpose, and with good management, it was now gone. Which primarily meant that it was a sacrifice field where we just stuck the animals, so it was terribly overgrazed and somewhat compacted. And so those first responder plants, once the animals were off, were no longer needed. And the grasses could come in. Kind of like how the oaks and the pines will follow the poplars, and then the maples and oaks follow the pines in succession. Right. So a lot of these invasive weeds, they're the first responders. That's their job. And then as you go in and you cultivate and you say, okay, guys, thanks very much. We don't need you anymore. We want this. Hopefully your succession plants will be able to flourish.
Sometimes though, Jill, sometimes they come into areas where it wasn't disturbed. And then they end up like
sometimes
wreaking havoc on the plants that were there. Yeah.
Right. But here's my thought is that nature is always doing what's best for nature. And our world is terribly out of balance on the whole. You know, if you will, the world has a sin nature. It's affected by it. And the more out of balance things get, the more that we're going to see that those plants come in because they're meeting a need. Because the soil, the rain is creating a bad pH because it's got toxins, or it has heavy metals in it, and it creates a condition in the soil so that those plants aren't hardy. The native plants that you want, those grasses and all, they aren't strong enough to resist the invasive opportunistic plants. I was just going to post a thing about the concept of terrain theory versus germ theory. And I'll go back and post it later, see if I can communicate it well enough. But germ theory is the idea that when you see sickness, it's because sickness is always there and everybody is always equally susceptible to it. So all soils or all animals are always equally susceptible to whatever can be out there. So those invasive plants can just move in. And we have to go in and get rid of them and just plant more of what we want. Terrain theory has to do with the idea that when things are healthy, they can resist whatever's out there. A healthy system resists disease. So some people get sick, other people don't, living side by side. Some households are perpetually sick, some households aren't. There's some animals, all of us that have them know, there are some that you are perpetually doctoring, some that you're not. It has to do with the strength of the individual and their health. When you look at the soil in your plants, it's a matter of getting down and saying, well, why are these plants not strong enough to resist? They know in gardens that when your soil is nutrient dense, so it has the full mineral and mineral complex that it needs, it's full of life, it's perfectly balanced, your plants will grow bigger and stronger and they will resist disease and they will resist pests. The weak plants are the ones that get sick and the ones that attract all the pests. And if you have a pest issue in your garden, you need to look at your soil. You know, in the short term, you spray your plants or do whatever you have to do for your plants. But ultimately, you look at your soil and say, what do I need to balance in my soil? Does it need a little lime, little green sand, little peat moss? You know, what do I need to do for my soil to make the plant strong? That's the idea behind terrain theory. Antoine and Béchamp, I'm guessing, I think it's a French name, so they have letters that don't get sounded in weird sounds. But he was the guy, he was a contemporary of Pasteur, and he disputed Pasteur's germ theory, which, I mean, germs are there, they're for real, and we needed to know about them and all of that, but germs as the base cause of disease is what he disputed. He said, no, it's a weak system that allows the germ to flourish. And that's what I would say we see in nature all the time. If you get an animal that has worms or has coccidia, it's not because the worms and coccidia aren't always there. It's because the animal became weak and was unable to resist them, and they flourished in the animal system. So then we apply wormer or something else to get rid of the coccidia. But if you don't strengthen their system, they're just going to get sick again. It's the ounce of prevention kind of idea. And what made me think of all that is you are your own best farmer. And that's the whole concept behind all of what we're doing here is strengthening your system. The habits are designed to work with nature. Um, and in particular, this week, as we're working with the earlier, lighter dinner and thinking about the Doshic clock and how that's sort of like gravity, it just is. And the more that you work with it, the stronger your system is. And the stronger your system is, the less you have dis-ease or that you're prone to disease, the stronger you are. If you get sick, you get lightly sick, you recover faster from injuries. Um, I would submit that my father has probably one of the strongest terrains on earth, and my mother takes good care of him by feeding him well. But he heals in no time flat, and that's partly because he has a very strong system, and that's what we're building with the habits. Strengthening your terrain, you're farming your own system. So it's always a choice. For us, we get a choice. When our poor soils get rained on with polluted rain or dusted by dust that's full of heavy metals or pesticides or whatever, and they're just weakened. Our whole system, our world environment system is in bad shape. Not that it can't recover, because I believe strongly in redemption. And I think that with one of the things about lockdown and everything going down is we've seen a lot of cleanup because the world, redemption is also built into our world system. And so the air is coming cleaner in a lot of places, cities where people that used to have to wear masks all the time because that was just standard issue. The air is clear and they can see the sky for the first time in ages. And rivers are cleaning up. And so it'll be interesting to see the impacts of all of that on our system. But that's all a choice that we have, and we can choose to work with our earlier, lighter dinner and work with our Doshic clock and how we're feeling, or we could choose to do whatever we want to do. We have free will within the system. So, free will, Doshic clock, you're your own best farmer, and so you have a choice of how well you take care of your terrain, your own personal system. And my last lecture thought was this is a thing that's come up in several places between my Oswald Chambers and this little daily calendar book thing I have. But it said emotions are messengers. That's why they're given to us, because they're messengers. And so they're your biofeedback system. They tell you how your practices are doing. We'll maybe get into that. I'll ask you guys that. But it's the thing to think about. The golden rule question is, how do you feel in the morning? Because how you feel is your biofeedback for how well you did with your earlier, lighter dinner and your evening routine, and then going to bed. All of those things, those emotions are your messengers. Conversely, considering that you have free will, and as you look at the habits and your evening routine, you have choices then about what you want your emotions to be. Do you want to wake up feeling well in the morning and strong and rested, like Bobby's goal is? You know what you need to do in the evening to set that up to happen. And you also know, conversely, that if you make choices through your evening, like I'm still struggling with getting off my screen in the evening and having to help Mark with his call versus doing what I know is more restful in the evening, and how do I balance that? I know that how well I balance that is how I will feel the next morning. Even down to, I realized last night, I had just like that much coffee because it smelled so good. And then this morning I woke up and thought, ooh, that made my stomach feel really crummy and heavy. So these are the choices we have, and that's what your emotions provide for you. They make horrible bosses, but they're a great messenger and a great prompt for, this is what I want. So also thinking then about habit, trigger habit and reward. Setting up the reward that you want, how you feel, because a lot of the anchor statements have to do with how you feel. You feel energized, do you feel calm, centered, even joy, which I've thought about, because joy is one of the things that is one of my things too. And it's not a contented joy, but it's more of an energetic kind of joy. So I kind of know what you were talking about, Bobby, with differentiating. It's not that I'm unhappy with life. It's just, I want to have that yay about life. Yeah. So maybe we'll come back to this, but the questions that I thought of them to tease it out a little bit, and maybe as we go through our group guideline, brag, and then talk a bit about goals going into the next week, is what do your emotions or what do your feelings tell you about when you eat in the evening? Thinking about the Doshic clock, about what you eat in the evening, and about how you spend your evening. Because that's part of the earlier, lighter dinner, is having that time open up. And what do you do with it so that you can digest your day and have that readiness for the next habit of early to bed? They all kind of roll and stack. So as we go, those are sort of the questions that I had to throw out there. As we go into some of this stuff. Ground rules. Any thoughts? What do you guys think? What comes to mind? Oh, Bobby, you're muted yet. Hang on. There you go.
I was going to really try to review often these ground rules. And I've got to say that everything has been sabotaged. But I have a brag. But with these darn goats having their kids, anyway, back to the ground rules, I guess. I was really gonna like keep an eye on these, review them constantly, because I think that not only do these ground rules have things to do with when we have our Thursday meeting with everybody, but daily looking at these things, because it's like, oh my gosh, each one of those you can say something about helping you with a habit. And it was just amazing. And of course, it wasn't until the end of the last lesson thing that I really even realized that. And being so but I still have been doing the earlier, lighter dinner because we have our main meal at noon. But I do struggle with the evening because I stay up so late, running down to the barn and checking the goats before I go to bed.
I thought of you one night when I was feeding the baby pigs at 10:30, and I just thought, suck it down, boys, because
I know, right? Because I want to go to bed. So, and I only have 10 does, so I thought that, okay, you know, this early to bed, 10 does, a couple weeks, I should be done. A couple weeks, I'm only halfway done. So I've got 8 does have had their kids, but 5 of them have had triplets. Out of those 15, we've had to pull 4 for different reasons, you know, breech, a leg back, you know, whatever. So now I'm afraid to go to bed early right at this time. So now it's gone on to past the time that I thought that I was going to be able to do that. So my morning routine, I've been pretty well doing that. My evening routine has been really difficult because as I stay up at night, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I can't go to bed yet because I've got to still go check goats, and I get snacky. But I don't want something like carrot sticks or celery sticks. I want chocolate, which I don't have, so I'm safe that way. But then just grabbing like some peanuts or something like that. So in a way, I feel bad that I haven't really, you know, really kept an eye on these ground rules, because they, if you read them all the time, they can really help you get your habits going and keep you on track with your habits. And I don't even know if that's what they were designed for, if that was just for our group calls, or both.
Both, whatever works. It works both ways. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I haven't reviewed these, and here in the last few days, and I'm not on track with my getting the rest.
Yeah. Well, there's a number of ways to compensate, but yeah, prioritizing your growth, because everybody knows that competing desires arise, or just situations, which, I mean, you got to check goats, and especially when you have such an ambitious buck and fertile.
Oh boy, I guess this time. But that's true though, overcoming that resistance, because then you can take a moment to remember, reconnect, and fan the flames of your deeper desires.
That's the one. I like that one. Yeah. This week I've thought how your anchor statement is sort of like your horizon line. And I've done that with myself a number of times this week. Just said, okay, eyes on the horizon. You know, quit looking down and all the things that are keep your eyes on the horizon, on the goal. And to get past the resistance and the little things that are trips and traps and whatnot, that are easy to become excuses. Any others? Andrea, Amanda? Or what do you think about that one?
Number 4. I can't remember.
Gone past it. Go back. Identity evolution. As we grow.
It's been a mixture between 4 and 2. It's a lot of trying to prioritize my growth while still staying true to who I want to be, who I am currently, and where I want to see myself in the future. It's been a problem this week, but I'm identifying it as something that I need to pay more attention to and try and put into the forefront. I think I've been dealing more with the reach out before you tweak out aspect, and I'm not paying attention to who I want to be or who I see myself in the future.
How do you keep your eyes on the horizon? That keeping that who you want to be out in front of you.
Well, I just keep her in my mind. I don't really keep notes around because I lose everything anyways. So putting notes on a mirror just really gives me anxiety because now it's cluttered and it's another thing I gotta clean and take care of. So I mean, I try and keep who I want to be in my mind and try and make better decisions before I reach to anger first or frustration. That's pretty much it.
Okay. I have to say, I have enjoyed going back, and I've checked the our Google Doc a couple times this week because I was checking to make sure that all my campers are in camp with us, and so and yeah, that was really nice. That was sort of a reminder to me of, oh yeah, that's what I said I wanted. That's my horizon, and that's what I'm doing. Right. Sometimes that's helpful just to have a place. Sometimes in my bullet journal, so on the side of my list, I'll write a note because that's where I write my notes that I need to remember. Yeah, ways to keep it in front of you, because I'm with you. Yeah, we live way too close in this house for me to put up notes, so the sticky note thing doesn't work here either. Yeah, and I know you're the same. You've got a lot of people and not that much personal space, so.
Yeah, that's to say the least. This week I got told by my daughter that I just type on the computer, I don't work. That's why she interrupts me. I just type on the computer. I don't do anything.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. You just sit there in front of the computer all day. What do you do? It's like, wow, you know. Yeah. The boys used to think they wanted Mark's job in the Air Force because all he did was drink coffee and talk to people all day. So there you go.
There you go. That's the Air Force.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the updated version is you just drink coffee and sit in front of and type on your computer all day. That's all you do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh.
I bet Mark had something to say about that.
Oh, he thought it was pretty funny. He was like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
All we that know better.
Right. It doesn't quite work like that. So, so what's your brag, Amanda, now that you just put food in your mouth?
My tomato plants look nice. A little leggy, but they look nice. That's pretty much it. I mean, the garden's been, well, it's pretty much ready. I'm just waiting for the ground to be ready for it, the weather to be ready. So everything's prepped. Water lines are in. It's been rototilled. The rows have been put in, raised beds have been placed, garden shed's been moved to the garden area. Woo, it was a big project. And we're working on the girls' princess garden area now.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
gonna get some playhouses.
Sweet. Sweet. How are you doing with the transition work to evening time? And then with your evenings, thinking about the Doshic clock and that how you spend your evening part of the earlier, lighter dinner.
It's difficult with COVID-19 and all of that because I work right in my kitchen, so
right. Oh,
I don't
of course
have that separation or anything like that. What's really hard is that I can't turn off my work phone from being forwarded to my cell phone. So it's like I'm never off. My phone will go off. I have Apple Watch that I've stopped wearing because when 3 o'clock comes, I'm done. I put the phone down. I put the I don't have the watch, and I walk away. It's what I've had to do this week is because I've noticed myself doing too much. Now with the eating, I've really have enjoyed the earlier, lighter meals, but I have not done this in springtime or summer. I started this in August timeframe when everything was starting to wrap up and it was easier. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, I guess, trying to see how I can balance it all. But I mean, we, for the most part, try and eat about 6. And we hit it pretty regularly.
Right. Right. And then I guess I'm wondering about the evening after that, because I know you have, and between you and Dave, you managed to get dinner about right. But the next part of that Doshic clock, the evening time.
The simmering down.
Yeah, that part.
Well, I can't say I'm the best at that one either, because I realized it was time for class only because I sat down at my computer to send out an email for work. So,
what's working well? What are you accomplishing and achieving? What's working well for you there in that department?
What, work or home life?
With your habit, with the slowing down, because that's great, shutting off your computer and walking away at 3. I admire that. I can't achieve that quite yet. But I know how it is going back. I've worked at my kitchen table for years, so I totally understand how that works. And you remember that last minute thing, oh, that's right, I got to get that done yet today. So yeah, I'm glad you had to do that and you joined us. But
yeah, I remembered.
overall, yeah, I guess I'm wondering, because I know it's challenging and there's lots of things that are difficult and that you're an overcomer. And
so try and sit in the front porch. We don't want to, we try not to sit after meals on the couch, although some weather that you really can't avoid that. But when it's nice and they're not overspraying on our yard like they're currently doing with all their junk, we will go out on the front porch and sit down, and it's been water or another adult beverage, but just sitting down and relaxing, watching the kids play. Sometimes we'll go for a little walk through the woods to see what's coming up. We learned a new plant. Don't ask me the name. I'd have to look it back up, but it's some like garlic and onion plant that is growing like crazy in our woods. And it is delicious.
You can eat it.
Yeah, I did.
It's garlic mustard.
There you go. Yep. And it's all over. And it just happened that I got curious and just pulled the plant and said, I'm gonna figure out if I can eat it. And sure enough, we could. So we can go out in the woods and we'll look and see what we want to, trees we want to save, and just things to get us from being sedentary after a meal and still allow us to burn off some excess energy and so forth before it's time to calm down and go to bed. We still watch TV right up until bedtime. So, I mean, that's not the best technique, but hey, it works.
And you're working in this time of year, it's really nice when you can get that dinner and then go out. Instead of doing it the backwards way, which kind of happens, especially when you're gone to work. It's one of the perks of working at home is that you're gone to work and then you get home and I still got to do chores and I want to be outside before it's dark, and then you don't want to go in and make dinner and eat. So you're working the Doshic clock. You are succeeding and doing well.
Yay.
Do you notice a difference? Yeah. Do you notice that difference when you are out doing things together and moving versus the times when, I mean, even watching TV together, it's a little bit better than everyone on their own screen in different rooms, but it's not the same together. Do you notice how that feels different, or how does it feel different?
I'm not noticing it as much because we haven't been able to do it often enough to really do a solid comparison. Like tonight would be a perfect night to go out to the front porch, except the wind is going and they're spraying. So it's just, I mean, we worked outside a little bit, but I guess we'll see over the next couple weeks how things are starting to change for us. And I know that when I'm able to finally get outside, I don't feel as sluggish. I feel more alert and more energized. It's like sitting in front of the computer or that blue screen just really drains.
Mm-hmm. What would happen if you just made a point, even if you eat on the couch, of getting out anyway afterwards, whether they come or not?
I mean, I prefer to get out in the evenings. It's cooler, it's quiet, it's pretty. We enjoy the sunsets. You're able to relax because you're not going to start a project super late so that it goes into the dark. So you really don't feel that pressure to, oh, I got to get this done and get this done. And you just have a chance to take a breath and admire the stuff that you have completed already. So, I mean, it's kind of, evening times are a chance to really take a breath sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's something to, yeah.
And you get involved with the TV and you stay in the, whatever the show is, and you don't really take a look at yourself. So,
Right.
I guess that's the difference.
Right. Which is where you stay rooted and grounded and centered in yourself then. I don't know about you. I can feel my frontal lobe change with the blue screen versus the sunset. Makes a big difference.
Yep.
Maybe we'll come back. So I'm going to pick on you a little bit more, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
Because one of the things that I think looking at goals moving forward, so how can you deepen your practice? Because earlier, lighter dinner, that part specifically isn't so much a challenge to you, it seems. So where would you lean into this habit a little more in order to get the emotional biofeedback that you're looking for with your anchor statement, with your horizon, your goals?
A lot of, I really need to make a priority of that evening quietness, because I no longer get that sit in silence moment with driving back and forth to work and home like I did before. So having that evening moment currently to just be able to take a breath and to look at everything we've accomplished and stop so much looking forward and saying, oh, I've got 8 projects going right now and not one of them is completed, and I have this going on at work and I've got no time to do this. So I guess where I'm struggling is I'm so in the here and now that I don't have a chance to take that moment and look at everything that we have accomplished in 2 years that we've been at this house and everything that we have done. And with that, it's a good indicator that yes, you've got 8 things and 8 projects going, but you always get it done and you just take it one bite at a time and so forth. Another struggle that I have is, although I get to bed early, I still have issues waking up and feeling refreshed. And I don't know what it is. I eat good, like I have a plant-based burger in front of me. That's what I have. I mean, no meats, or very few meats. Just
What do you think would happen if you made a practice? Because what I'm hearing is that you're actually a lot of times living in the future. I have to get this done. And what you enjoy and find puts you the place that you want to be is when you're in the moment and practicing gratitude.
Yeah, practicing the gratitude of what we already have and what we've been able to physically accomplish. I mean, we've had a lot of, I don't want to say injuries because we're both broke from the military, but a lot of limited
You're both healing from the military. Amanda, you're both healing from the military.
I don't know if healing is the right word. We're broke. But
do you want to be broke or do you want to be healed, Amanda?
Some things I can heal, others.
But what do you want? Do you want to be broke or do you want to be healed?
I want to be normal again. I want to feel whole again.
Say it how you want it. Say it how you want it.
I want to be me. I want to be who I was before.
Right. So you want to be healed from the military, not broke from the military.
Yeah.
Say it how you want it, not how it is. Throw it out there. That's how miracles happen.
I need a miracle.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I mean, in all reality, Dave and I have healed a lot of our medical issues, or at least me with the inflammation and all of that stuff, just by eating better and paying attention to what our body likes and so forth. And it's amazing. I've completely removed all of the medications for my inflammation. because of it. And the VA goes, oh, there's just no explanation to why this is not bothering you anymore. And
Right.
it's all because eating cleaner, and I thought I was eating cleaner before I started this class. I mean, we weren't eating processed foods or anything like that, and wasn't doing it right.
So now you
'Cause it's more
are
than just
healing.
eating. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So do what you said. What I heard you say is that you need to practice that evening quiet and gratitude every evening. Take yourself for a little walk around the yard to remind yourself.
Yes. And
It's
having
a
that
powerful thing. Do it tonight under the full moon, and just stand there and moonbathe for a minute. It sounds weird, but Rachel went out with me and did it last night, and it's pretty cool. After all, we're 80% water. If the moon can have an effect on the tides, and we're 80% water, and us as women, very watery, why not? It's a fun thing.
And we follow the moon cycle.
Exactly. Exactly. Andrea, what's your brag this week?
I'm trying. Keep trying the earlier dinners. It doesn't always work because people get done with or Mark gets done with work, I should say, and then he wants to go for a run or do a project, kind of shake out work, he wants to just move after sitting in the storage room in front of a computer for 8 hours. So I don't blame him.
He's in the closet. I made a bad joke to one of my sons this morning about how they let him out of the closet, and some of my other sons pointed that out. So Mark can relate.
Yeah. Poor guy. Yeah. So anyway, we're kind of still working on that, but I think one of the things I'm most proud of and excited about is my spice blends, which I know sounds kind of corny, but a lot of the cookbooks, the Ayurveda cookbooks, have different spice blends, whether it's like spring or summer, fall, winter, or savory or sweet. And I have gotten to the habit of reaching for those instead of grabbing 3 different spice bottles and unscrewing and shaking and various. It's so nice to have them just blended. I don't know if anyone else has done that. I highly recommend the spice blends. And I just got done making applesauce and put the sweet blend in, and it smells so good. And it's like everything, the cinnamon, ginger, I put nutmeg and then cardamom all together. And then I just keep them in an empty bottle, and then I put that like on my oatmeal in the morning, or I put it like this noon, I put it on my sweet potato with some ghee. It's so easy that way if it's just all mixed up already. So that's my little brag. And the savory one is so good too. It has dill in it, which is one of my favorites. But that's my brag. That today has not been my best day, and I think, looking back, I'm sure it's a combination of just like getting sick of every day feeling the same as the one before, like Groundhog Day all over again. And yeah, I can't complain. I actually have things in my life that change day to day, so I don't know what my deal is, but I'm just not, just feeling like the seasons are never really going to change. Like, will we ever really be out of 40 degrees? Like, you know what I mean? Will it ever really come? And I look at the track schedule, that we had before this all happened. And like, we were coming up to like our last week of racing this week before like the really, really important race, regionals and state started. And I can't even fathom, like, it's so far beyond our experience now. I just can't even put that all together. Yeah, so anyway, some days are better than others, right? And I know there's probably some habits that I've self-sabotaged. I'm trying to figure out which self-sabotage statement I've been telling myself lately, like, oh, it doesn't really matter, or, you won't know the difference, or I don't know, or it just, your whole talking about listening to your emotions and feelings. Well, sometimes I listen too much to those, and I put food in my face because my emotions tell me that it will make me feel better, and that's not true, like necessarily. I don't know. So, or it feels better for like that bite, and then, but
That's why they're just the messenger.
yeah,
Because I know
doesn't
Bobby
make them
said
smart, huh?
exactly. They're just delivering the message. They are not the boss. Because I do the same thing as Bobby. I know when I'm craving chocolate or coffee, what I need to do is go take a nap. It's just that feeling is the messenger telling me I need stimulation. What I need to do, because I'm tired, right? Or bored, or off balance, and looking for grounding. I notice that in the evenings when I get snacky, or especially if I've been talking to people a lot, which is a more Vata thing, especially talking online or on the phone. And, oh, okay, I need something.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Your
So
emotion?
spices are my brag, but
Yep.
And I've been doing better at getting to bed on time and not binging on Netflix or books. So I'm proud of that too. Mainly because my entertainment the last few days has been putting together a puzzle. And by the time the sun goes down, my eyes are tired and the light casts a glare on the puzzle. So I just couldn't do it anymore. By like 8:30, 8:45, I had to be all done. So that's perfect, because then it was time to go to bed. Or to start wrapping up, So that's my other brag, is I have been getting to bed on time. So, woohoo.
Which is cool. I like that. Which is one of the reasons, this, as we talk about the Doshic clock, and that this is the Kapha time, which is a heavier time. It's connective. It's time to be a little slower, more introspective maybe, or just digesting the day. And I don't know about you guys. Do you feel that screen, like you've been outside walking around, or doing your puzzle, or go out, check the goats? I like to go out and do a walk around the field, or just stick my head outside and just stand there for a while. And then you look at the screen and you find that all of a sudden time has evaporated. Do you notice how you feel differently as soon as you engage with that screen in the evening?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We've been walking after, like, once the kitchen's all cleaned up, or, Mark's finished his whatever, close to sunset, we've been going out for that, like, dusk time walk. And I got my first tick ever the other night, going on an evening walk like that. But it was an exciting adventure. But yeah, there's a big difference. And I like that time, right? Because like you said, it's kind of like a wind down time. And for us, hitting it at sunset, it's kind of like we debrief the day together. And, or if I'm alone, I debrief it with God, and just kind of talk through things. And then it's just like a really great way to just kind of like wind down. And then you come inside and you're like, hey, I can go to bed. Like, this is great. And lately it's been cold and the bed is warm. So that's nice too. It's a happy place. I love going to bed though. That's always been an easy choice for me. Especially since getting over the fact that my kids stay up later than me. I'm kind of over that now. I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed. So anyway.
Yeah. So thinking about that, how, because we've kind of talked about that evening time and working that, and how it's challenging sometimes. And sometimes the people in our lives aren't always with us on that. And instead of being a we, it has to be an I do this. And that sometimes there are late night demands. None of us have babies, but we do have baby animals, some of us. What do you think, Bobby, about how's your evening routine, or what has this sparked any thoughts for you about the practice? Because I had thought today, I don't remember what it was, but that you have the practice, the principle of the habit. Sometimes how it plays out in practicality has to morph a little bit, depending on things that happen or what's going on. I guess I was thinking about, this morning, my breath body, instead of doing my yoga or going for a nice brisk walk, I was doing a yogic squat, feeding baby pigs and taking the chicks out, and then going and doing the goat and move. I was doing a lot of walking. It was just different, but I still did my practice.
I haven't really done too much as far as evening stuff goes, because I'm outside a lot way into the evenings. And then even when I come in, and I'll sit down for a while, but then a couple hours later, of course, I got to head back down to the barn and check goats. So my evenings, I haven't put into practice anything. I've taken a couple walks in the morning, but I would say at this point, my mornings have been a lot better as far as doing my habits than my evenings have been. My evenings are just messed up.
But are you using that time to slow down?
Oh yeah.
And
oh yeah. I sit because I'm tired. Yeah. Oh yeah. When it gets dark and I can't work outside anymore, and I come in, and I come in, it's 9 o'clock, and I think, oh man, I still got another 3 hours before I can go to bed, or 3.5, about by the time I get to bed. So, when it gets dark, I come in and I sit. Yeah. But as far as kind of habits and stuff go, yeah, I mean, I'm relaxing. I might do some screen time, and I might do a piece of the TV, and I pretty much ignore the TV. I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there, but I pretty much ignore it. He'll ask me a question, and I'll be looking at my screen. Big. Yeah. Oh, it's tiny. It's tiny. I mean, we're like right here. I can reach over and with my foot and nudge him, and it doesn't take much. All I have to do is stretch a little bit, and I can nudge him. Get up, and in 4 steps, I'm at the TV. It's right. Small.
Right.
Yeah. But my happy thing is, because how I've really complained about him watching TV until way, way late at night. There's been times, because I've been up late, he'll fall asleep, so I'll just turn the TV off. But then there's times that comes to bed and it's like 3 o'clock or whatever. Of course, I get up because I've got chores to do. He is retired, but then lately he's been kind of getting mad at himself, and I'm going, yes. So I'm hoping that we're going to adjust as there's more time to work outside, and he's kind of getting into the groove, I guess, of being in retirement, that the TV is actually going to go off earlier. And as I get back into my I know, right? As I get back into my evenings, and he knows that I'm working on these health habits, I'm really, really hoping to pull him more into helping me, and then be kind of working with me on this as well too. So yeah, not there yet. Think about it a lot. because I'm tired and it's just like, I want to go to bed. I can't imagine going to bed or even starting to go to bed at 9 o'clock yet though. That is just like, wow.
Yeah,
But
That's
so,
all right.
yeah, so right now, you know, yeah, but this is just a short period of time. I can still learn this stuff. I can still kind of try to think about what kind of routines and the evening times that I want to get into. Before the Does started having their kids, I was trying to like cut the screen time in the evenings down, you know, at certain time, cut the screen, you know, that sort of thing. But if I read, I fall asleep, so I can't do that. So that's kind of where I'm at right there.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Do you take time in the evening to just kind of process or run back through the day? You know, Andrea was saying on her walk, kind of talk it through with Mark or with God. Amanda, you know, walk around and do just a review of the day maybe, or do you take time to just digest the day as you're sitting there relaxing in the evening?
Not that late. No. I guess in the evening times, as I'm outside, as I'm working, I'm at the age that I'm not out there going 100, you know,
right. But
in the evening times.
But it's not a physical thing. It's not a physical thing. It's just, and it's kind of part of the sit in silence. I'm just curious.
Right, and I understand what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. No, right. I just, and maybe it's different because yesterday, just because we can't get the tractor into the barn, I was just taking them out by wheelbarrow loads. And that was just kind of, this might sound kind of weird, but as you're wheeling wheelbarrow loads of stuff out of the barn, that was just kind of my relaxed time. And then sometimes I would just kind of sit and put my arms on the fence and just watch my goats. And like right now I've got a few babies. So just watching them and watching them play, or going in there and having them come up and nibble on my pants, and, you know, just kind of so yeah, even though I can't say that I've totally stopped working, it's more of a down, relaxed time after chore time. And then whatever I'm doing, it's more of just kind of a let down time. So not exactly like sitting and meditating type thing, but yeah, just not working hard at the end of the day. Right. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my relaxed time.
So you're working it more than what you think you are.
Oh, I think and I'm trying to be very very cosmic, I guess, of what I'm doing as far as my habits are going. So yeah, I think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, you know, do more practicing of it, but just kind of trying to figure out my place on the whole thing and how I want it to look like. And then once I am back to a little bit more of a regular routine where I don't have to stay up so late, then I can maybe adjust time-wise on things. So,
but just by setting that intention, I hear that you're working it, and it's working more than what you think even. So you have the principle, and the practice of it in your situation right now. It looks a little different than it will, you know, in a couple weeks, but it's still working.
Or even before that, because I really had started to intentionally practice some of this stuff. And so, because at a certain time I did chores and I'd come in and then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm tired. I'm done for the day. I'm going to relax. I'm going to whatever. And that was before the goat started to kid. So I started that, and now I have kind of an idea of what I want to do to get back into that. when, when the last doe has her kid. So
Right.
yeah, I have
Right.
been. I've been trying to be very intentional on that, and it's just yeah, maybe not sit and meditate, but just kind of it's not even work either. It's just kind of putter. I'm just kind of puttering out there.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And like I say, just kind of enjoying being out there with the goats, watching them, scratching them. They all love to have their massages. They're pretty spoiled.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. I think that's a great brag. It's morphing, and you're doing the thing.
You hear that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, good. Okay.
No.
It was just an incoming call, and so it muted my Zoom meeting.
Oh.
Okay.
Good conversation. Any last thoughts? Closing ideas?
As I was listening to everybody and what they had to say, the struggle is real. It is amazing how each person is where they are, and the struggles. And Jill, thank you, because I think a lot of this is that, yes, it's the struggles, but I don't think we really put our finger on it. This points it out. This says, okay, this is a struggle, but, this is what it is, but where do you want it to be? I don't think that we really even think about that or even try to focus on that until it's pointed out to us. So I think this has been a really good Zoom meeting, I think, and the conversations.
Agreed.
So,
yeah. Thanks.
been good. Just shows you how much more we have got to work on.
yeah, but it's in the moment, and here you are in this moment, right. And you're not where you were.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Little steps, like you say, just little steps. It's going to take a while.
What about Bob? Baby steps. So, all right. Any other thoughts? No. All right. We are at time. So, thank you guys.
All right.
If you get a chance, look at the Google Doc. Fill in your next things. You can do it retroactively if you want to. Whatever. Just use it to kind of help guide yourself along to the next step. So. All right.
Okay, so now we're going on to the next. Filling it?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, because there's a spot for each habit for you to fill in what you want to work on for this habit, what you want to lean into.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Do you want us to try to put a new brag in every once in a while?
It has that one column.
Yeah.
It was just still there and I didn't take it out. Okay, so vote. Do you guys want me to put a brag column in for each habit or just just leave it that one?
That'd be it'd be good. Like, it might be good since they're 2 weeks long to do so we go back to it each week, and you might have to put the link in each lesson to remind us to go back each week. But if you put the link to it, so it's really quick and easy, then the first week we could go in and put our goal, and then the second week revisit it with a brag, maybe.
Sure.
We could try it and live into it and see how it goes.
Yeah. And sometimes I've found
very encouraging.
Okay. I will update it and I'll put a link in the forum for you, just so it's handy again, like you say, Andrea. I know.
Yeah.
Nice not to have to look in 5 places for everything.
Yeah, I have to remember to bookmark it.
Yeah.
But then, anyway.
Yeah. I will do that.
If you don't mind.
Not at all. not at all. So awesome.
Okay.
Early to bed for the next lesson starting, Friday, Monday,
Okay.
Sunday, Monday, whatever day of the
Okay.
week it is.
Yeah.
So,
That's
all
the
right.
truth.
Okay.
Yeah. Groundhog Day. Have a good evening, everybody.
All
Go
right.
enjoy it.
You too.
Bye, guys.
Yes.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good one.